Exercise 4, Modeling a Hammer. In this tutorial, we will introduce you to one of the simplest ways to make a T-spline model, by stacking faces on top of each other, much like you'd stack children's blocks, using the TSAppend command. We'll use this workflow to model a hammer. Here's the final hammer. In this instance, we will start with some reference curves instead of an image. You'll notice that the curved layer is locked so that I won't select them accidentally as I'm modeling. So I'll start by using the TSAppend command, which is this command right here. To use this command, click 4 points and then hit enter. You've made a T-splines face. To append another face to this face, run the command again. First click the 2 points on the face that you'll be connecting to, and then click the 2 new points of your face and hit enter. We will be repeating this a number of times. One important thing is to always make sure that you are snapping to the points that you want to connect to. It's important to make sure that you have the Rhino point snap on. You'll notice I also have near and end snap on. Those aren't strictly necessary. They just help me snap to the curve. I can turn those off though. When I get to this point where the topology branches, then I'll just go ahead and make a face here, and then come off the face in 2 directions. You'll also notice that to enter the command, I'm hitting the right-click mouse button, and to start the command again, I'm also hitting the right-click mouse button. That's just a shortcut in Rhino for repeating commands without having to use the keyboard. Do a few more here. And we have, in general, laid out the shape of the hammer just using one command, the append face command. At this point, this is a flat surface, and I can tell that if I go to perspective view, then I just have a single flat surface here. The next thing to do is to thicken this to create a volume. There's 2 ways to thicken this. One is to use the thicken command. So here's the thicken command, and you can see that just creates a single volume. The other way to thicken the T-spline is I'll undo that, and I'll just extrude all of these faces. So let me enter edit mode. And go to face mode. And select all these faces, and then use the extrude command. So again, one way to extrude is hold down the Alt key and just drag the manipulator. So what this will give me is half of my shape. You can see it leaves an open edge here. And the benefit of doing this is that I can now use symmetry to go ahead and add symmetry to my model. So let's go ahead and leave this and turn on symmetry. So I'll select my T-spline. I'm going to be applying axial symmetry. And then I have to mark the start of my symmetry plane. So let me turn on my snaps and just say here's one start of my plane, and here's another start of my plane, or here's the end of my plane. And now I have a symmetric object. You can tell there's symmetry on because there's that green line that's going through my shape. So now whatever I do on one side of my model will be updated on the other side of the model. So now that I have this model with symmetry, most of my job's done. Now I'm just going to be pushing and pulling on my model to finish my shape. So let me switch back to right view and start moving the control points of my model so that I can more closely match up to my reference image. So I can just move these control points. You'll notice up here it's not quite, I don't really have enough control points to get it tied up here. One way of inserting edges is the insert edge command. So I'll go ahead and just pre-select these edges in this edge ring where I'd like my new edge to go. Then run the insert edge command. And I'll just go ahead and add it here. And you can see that's added a lot more detail. So let me even just go to wireframe mode and change to control points so I can move these control points where I want them to be. Okay, so I can continue to fine-tune that, but that's a general idea of how we can get closer to the final model if we don't have enough detail already. So once we've done it in the right perspective, we can come in just the perspective view, and maybe I'll switch to faces and go ahead and select some faces here to make this thinner. So I can change to my scale manipulator. Just kind of thin this out to give it a more narrow neck. Maybe thin out the bottom, or make this a little bit more rounded at the bottom as well. You can see I can just continue to modify my model like that, just to fine tune this. So finally, once I get this in a shape that I'm comfortable with, I can go ahead and convert it to NURBS and cut out a section here to separate the two parts of the hammer. So to do that, let me turn back on my layers and turn on this curve that I'm going to use to pipe. Let me come back to the right perspective so you can see this and how it, let me go ahead and hide these. So let's go ahead and run the Rhino project curve command, and I'll just type that in here. Project, select this, project it onto the T-spline. And there we go. So you can see one issue that I'm having with this projection is that that's actually not projected on my T-spline. It's projecting on the control polygon of the T-spline, which if I hit the tab key, you can see that's what it's really projecting onto. And probably what's going on is if I check on my utility, I have my T-spline in fast mode instead of compatible mode. And fast makes it faster to work on my T-splines, but it also means that Rhino sees the T-spline as a mesh. So I want to go to compatible so that Rhino sees the T-spline as a NURBS. So let me just try this one more time now in compatible mode. Let me delete that. And let's go try this one more time. Project. And there we go. That's exactly what we want. The curve projected on the T-spline on that actual smooth surface. So now we can go ahead and pipe this. Just use the Rhino pipe command. We'll have a radius of 0.1. And go ahead and hit enter. So this is piped. And now let's go ahead and do Boolean difference between this and the T-spline. So let's go ahead and type Boolean two objects. Select the pipe. Select the T-spline. And we can just click through to get the iteration that we want. We'll click one more time. And this is the one that we want, the curve subtracted from the T-spline. So you can see what this will do is it will convert the T-spline to a NURBS surface. But now that gives me a nice cut pipe out of there.